The red warning lights flickered across the abandoned control room, casting eerie shadows on Alexandria, Lex Cruz's face, as she ran her fingers over the dusty console. This forgotten outpost on Triton 9, a remote human colony at the edge of the Arcturus system, had been her sanctuary for the past 3 years. Far from the prying eyes of the Galactic Coalition that kept humanity under strict surveillance, she had found solace in isolation. "Still chasing ghosts, Captain?" A familiar voice echoed from the entrance. Lex didn't bother turning around. She recognized Captain Elias Ross's gravelly tone, worn down by years of frustration and disillusionment. Like her, he was a relic of humanity's former military might, before the Treaty of New Geneva had stripped Earth and its colonies of their right to maintain a proper fleet. "Not ghosts, Ross. Echoes," she replied, her eyes fixed on the ancient terminal. "Echoes of what we once were." Ross approached, his weathered boots leaving tracks in the dust that had accumulated over decades of neglect. "It's been 15 years since the Coalition confined us to our little corner of the galaxy. Maybe it's time to accept our place." Lex shot him a cold glare. At 42, she still maintained the sharp, disciplined appearance of a fleet commander despite the years of forced retirement. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, revealing a scar that ran from her right temple to her jawline, a permanent reminder of humanity's last stand against the Coalition forces. "Our place." She let out a bitter laugh. "Is that what you call being treated like children who can't be trusted with anything more dangerous than mining equipment? Being forced to dismantle our defense forces while the Coalition patrols our borders? Having to ask permission to travel beyond Proxima Centauri?" Before Ross could respond, the terminal emitted a soft beep, an anomaly in the dead system that had remained silent for years. Lex's hands flew across the keyboard, her eyes widening as she decoded the signal. "That's impossible," she whispered. Ross leaned over her shoulder, his breath catching as he recognized the old military frequency, one that hadn't been used since before the surrender. "Is that?" "Protocol Lazarus," Lex confirmed, her voice barely audible. "It's a distress signal from Fleet Station Omega." "Omega was destroyed during the final assault," Ross argued, shaking his head in disbelief. "I was there. Lex, I saw it blow apart." "The station?" "Yes." Lex agreed, her fingers dancing across the keyboard with renewed purpose. "But not the emergency bunkers beneath it, and certainly not what was stored there." The terminal screen flickered to life, displaying coordinates that made both veterans freeze in place. Deep within the asteroid belt of a seemingly unremarkable system lay the remnants of humanity's greatest secret, a reserve fleet hidden away during the darkest hours of the war, never deployed and never discovered by the Coalition forces. "Project Phoenix," Ross breathed, the name coming back to him like a half-forgotten dream. "I thought it was just a rumor." Lex stood up, her eyes burning with a fire that Ross hadn't seen since before the surrender. It was deliberately spread as a rumor to protect the truth. A fleet of 30 warships, including 5 dreadnoughts, hidden and preserved for the day humanity would need them again. "And you think that day is now?" Ross asked, unable to hide the skepticism in his voice. "The Coalition has enforced peace for 15 years. We live in a stable." "Stable oppression is still oppression," Lex cut him off. "And it won't last. Intelligence reports from the outer colonies suggest the Coalition is fracturing. The Arturnian hegemony is challenging the Sirius Combine for control. Civil war is brewing. And when it comes, humanity will be caught in the crossfire. Unless we have the means to defend ourselves," Ross finished, beginning to understand. "But those ships, if they even exist, would be decades old. Their systems would be outdated, their weapons primitive compared to modern Coalition technology. A smile, the first genuine one Ross had seen from her in years, spread across Lex's face. That's where you're wrong. Project Phoenix wasn't just about hiding ships. It was about continuous development. The bunkers contained research facilities, automated manufactories, and some of our best military scientists. They've been working in secret all these years, upgrading the fleet with technology reverse-engineered from Coalition ships we managed to capture. "How do you know all this?" Ross demanded. Lex's smile faded. "Because my father was one of those scientists. His last message to me before communications went dark included a fail-safe protocol. If certain conditions were met, a signal would be sent to specific receivers, like this one." "What conditions?" "Evidence that the Coalition is planning to relocate us," Lex said grimly. "They've found resources in our territory that they want, and rather than negotiate, they're preparing to move entire human populations to make room for their mining operations." Ross stared at her in shock. "That's against the treaty. Even they wouldn't." "They would," Lex insisted. "And according to this signal, they already are. Starting with the outer colonies, far enough from Earth that the news won't spread quickly." A heavy silence fell between them, broken only by the soft hum of the ancient terminal and the distant howl of Triton 9's perpetual windstorms. "So what's your plan?" Ross finally asked. "Even if we could reach this hidden fleet, what then? 2 retired military officers against the entire Coalition?" Lex's expression hardened with determination. "We won't be alone. There are others, former officers, engineers, pilots, all waiting for a chance to reclaim our independence. All we need to do is reach the fleet and activate Protocol Lazarus fully. And if we're caught, the punishment for violating the military restrictions is—" "I know the punishment," Lex snapped. "I've lived with it hanging over my head for 15 years, but I'm done hiding. Ross, I'm done pretending to be content with the scraps they've left us. Are you with me, or should I find someone else?" Ross looked at her for a long moment, the weight of the decision heavy on his shoulders. Then, with a resigned sigh, he straightened to attention and offered a crisp salute, one that hadn't been seen in human space since the surrender. "Captain Alexandria Cruz, it would be my honor to serve under your command once more." Lex returned the salute, her eyes gleaming with purpose. "Then let's go wake up our fleet. Captain Ross, it's time humanity reminded the galaxy of its existence." In the heart of New Shanghai, the most populous human city outside of Earth, Dr. Iona Reyes stared at her private terminal with growing concern. As the lead researcher at the Quantum Communications Institute, she had access to channels and frequencies most humans didn't even know existed. And for the past 3 days, she had been tracking an unusual signal pattern emanating from the restricted zone near Pluto's orbit. At 53, Iona was one of the few remaining scientists who had worked directly on military technology before the surrender. Her expertise in quantum entanglement had been instrumental in developing the communication systems used by Earth's fleet during the war. Now, those same skills were supposedly being used for peaceful exploration under the watchful eye of Coalition observers. A knock at her office door interrupted her thoughts. She quickly encrypted her terminal before calling out, "Enter." The door slid open to reveal Zane Mitchell, her former student, and now her most trusted colleague. At 35, Zane had been just a teenager during the final days of the war, but his brilliant mind and fierce loyalty to humanity had quickly earned him a place in Iona's inner circle. "You wanted to see me, Dr. Reyes?" he asked, closing the door behind him. Iona nodded, gesturing for him to take a seat. "I've picked up something interesting, a signal using an old military frequency, one that shouldn't even be operational anymore." Zane's eyes widened slightly, but he maintained his composure. Coalition patrols? No, Iona replied, lowering her voice despite the room's privacy shields. It's one of ours. An emergency protocol from before the surrender. She turned the terminal toward him, allowing him to see the decoded message. Zane's breath caught as he recognized the significance of what he was seeing. Protocol Lazarus, he whispered. That's from the Phoenix Project, isn't it? The hidden fleet? Iona raised an eyebrow. You know about Phoenix. That information was classified at the highest levels. Zane's expression grew somber. My father was a tactical officer on the UES Indomitable, before he died in the Battle of Proxima Centauri. He told me about a contingency plan, a fleet hidden away where the Coalition would never find it. I always thought it was just a story to give me hope. It wasn't just a story, Iona confirmed, but discussing it openly, even now, could be considered a violation of the treaty. The Coalition monitors all our communications. Then why are you showing me this? Zane asked. Iona studied him carefully before responding. Because someone has activated the initial sequence. They'll need help to fully implement Protocol Lazarus. Specifically, they'll need the quantum encryption keys to access the fleet's central command systems. And you have those keys, Zane realized. 1 of 3 required. Iona nodded. The other 2 were entrusted to high-ranking military officers. If Protocol Lazarus has been initiated, at least one of them is still alive and active. Zane leaned forward, his voice dropping to a near whisper. Are you suggesting we join them? Help reactivate a military fleet that violates every term of the treaty that's kept peace for 15 years? Peace? Iona scoffed. Is that what you call this? Constant surveillance, restricted research, limited travel? Having to submit every technological advancement for Coalition approval? Watching our culture and identity slowly erode under their guidance? It's better than war, Zane argued. I was young, but I remember the final days, the orbital bombardments, the refugee ships being shot down. Millions died. Doctor, and millions more will die if we do nothing, Iona countered, pulling up a classified report on her terminal. This was intercepted from Coalition Central Command 3 days ago. They're planning to relocate the population of Triton 9 to make room for a new mining operation. 80,000 people. Zane, forced from their homes because some Arcturnian bureaucrat decided the deuterium deposits beneath their colony are more valuable than their lives. Zane stared at the report, his expression hardening as he read through the clinical language describing the Population Transfer Initiative. This is just the beginning, Iona continued. The Coalition is fracturing from within. The various species are taking sides, forming new alliances. And when their Cold War turns hot, humanity will be nothing more than collateral damage, unless we have the means to defend ourselves. Zane remained silent for a long moment, weighing her words against his own reservations. Finally, he looked up, his decision made. What do you need me to do? Iona's tense shoulders relaxed slightly. I need you to prepare the QE transmitter in Lab 6 for a highly focused burst. We can't risk broadcasting the key on any frequency the Coalition might be monitoring. And you? Zane asked. I need to contact an old friend, Iona replied, already composing a carefully worded message on her terminal. Someone who might know who activated the protocol. As Zane left to prepare the transmitter, Iona allowed herself a moment of doubt. Was she doing the right thing? Or was she potentially condemning humanity to another devastating war? The answer came as she glanced at a photo on her desk, a group of young scientists standing proudly before the UES Dauntless, Earth's most advanced warship at the time. All of them were smiling, filled with purpose and hope for humanity's future among the stars. Most of those bright faces were now dead, victims of the Coalition's peacekeeping during the final assault on Earth. No, she decided. Peace at the cost of freedom was no peace at all. It was time for humanity to stand on its own again, whatever the consequences might be. The Coalition Oversight Station in Earth orbit was a marvel of alien engineering, a massive structure of crystalline spires and graceful arches that seemed to defy the laws of physics. To the humans living below, it was both a wonder and a reminder of their subjugation, a constant presence in their sky that monitored their every move. Within one of its secure conference chambers, High Overseer Vax Aloran of the Sirius Combine reviewed the latest intelligence reports with growing concern. A veteran of the Human Containment War, the tall, gray-skinned alien had spent the last 15 years ensuring that humanity remained firmly under Coalition control. "You're certain about this?" he asked his chief intelligence officer, a reptilian Arcturnian named Selmec. "Our monitoring systems detected an unauthorized transmission using old human military frequencies." Selmec confirmed, his scaled tail twitching with agitation. It was brief, encrypted, and directed toward the outer rim of their solar system. Vax Loren's large, pupilless eyes narrowed. Could it be remnants of their old communication network accidentally activating? Possible, but unlikely. Selmec replied. The pattern suggests deliberate use, not a malfunction. And there's more. Our deep space probes have detected unusual energy signatures from an uncharted asteroid field in Sector 47. "Sector 47 is empty space," Vax Aloran objected. "Our surveys found nothing of value there." "Precisely why it would make an ideal hiding place," Selmec pointed out. "The energy signatures match those of human military vessels, but much stronger than anything they were known to possess during the war." Vax Aloran rose from his seat, moving to the viewport that overlooked the blue-green planet below. For all their primitive technology and emotional unpredictability, humans had proven themselves remarkably resilient opponents during the war. It had taken the combined might of 4 advanced civilizations to finally subdue them, and even then, the victory had come at a great cost. "We destroyed their fleet," he said, more to reassure himself than to state a fact. "Every shipyard, every weapons facility, every military installation, all gone." "Perhaps not everyone," Selmec suggested cautiously. "Our intelligence during the war indicated rumors of a hidden reserve fleet, what the humans called Project Phoenix. We dismissed it as propaganda, designed to boost their forces' morale. But if it were true, it would explain these anomalies." Vax Aloran finished, turning back to face his subordinate. How many ships could they possibly have hidden? Unknown, but given the energy signatures we're detecting, at least several capital-class vessels. Vax Aloran contemplated this information in silence. The Coalition's hold over its member species was already tenuous, with the Arcturnian hegemony openly challenging serious authority in the Council. If humans were to suddenly reappear as a military force, it could tip the delicate balance of power. Increase surveillance on all known human military personnel from before the surrender, he ordered. Monitor their communications, their movements, everything, and prepare a task force. Quietly. I want our best ships and crews ready to move at a moment's notice. "And the Council?" Selmec inquired. "Should they be informed?" Vax Aloran's expression hardened. "Not yet. The Arcturnians would use this as another excuse to question our leadership. We will handle this ourselves and present the solution to the Council once the threat is eliminated." As Selmec departed to carry out his orders, Vax Aloran returned his gaze to Earth, watching the lights of human cities glittering across its night side. 15 years of carefully maintained control, of guiding humanity's development, along paths that served the Coalition's interests. He would not allow some remnant of their military past to undo all that work. You should have learned your lesson the first time. Humans, he murmured to the distant planet. Some species are meant to serve, not to rule. For your own sake. I hope you remember that. The journey to the coordinates specified in the Lazarus Protocol took Lex and Ross nearly 3 weeks, traveling on a modified cargo hauler that drew little attention from Coalition patrols. They had picked up Dr. Iona Reyes at a rendezvous point near Europa, along with her assistant Zane and a handful of former military personnel who had been quietly recruited through secure channels. Now, as their ship drifted into the asteroid field that concealed humanity's greatest secret, a tense silence filled the bridge. The navigation system had detected no signs of the hidden station or fleet, just an endless sea of tumbling rocks and cosmic debris. "Are you sure these coordinates are correct?" Ross asked, peering dubiously at the barren space before them. Lex nodded, her focus unwavering. "The station won't reveal itself to passive scans. We need to transmit the authentication sequence." She turned to Dr. Reyes, who had been working tirelessly at a makeshift communications array. "Doctor, are we ready?" Iona nodded, though her expression remained troubled. "The quantum key is prepared, but I must warn you again. Once we transmit, there's no going back. The energy surge will be detectable by any Coalition sensors within several light-years. Then we'd better hope the fleet is everything the legends claim," Ross muttered. Lex took a deep breath, looking around at the small crew they had assembled. Each face showed a mixture of hope, fear, and determination. The same emotions that had driven her since discovering the Lazarus signal. "This is our moment," she told them, her voice steady and clear. "For 15 years, humanity has lived under the Coalition's thumb. We've watched our rights erode, our territories shrink, our future dim. Today, we take back our destiny." She turned to Iona and gave a firm nod. "Transmit the key." Iona's fingers danced across the console, initiating a sequence that sent quantum-entangled particles streaming out into the seemingly empty space before them. For several long moments, nothing happened. Then, like a veil being lifted, the asteroids directly ahead began to shift and move, not in the random patterns of natural objects, but with purpose and precision. What had appeared to be a cluster of unremarkable space rocks revealed itself as a massive camouflage network, parting to expose the entrance to a hidden dock embedded within the largest asteroid. "By all the stars," Ross breathed, his eyes wide with wonder. "They really did it." A communication channel opened automatically as their ship approached the entrance, and a computerized voice spoke in crisp, formal tones. "Authentication recognized. Welcome. Protocol Lazarus initiators. Fleet Station Omega awaits your arrival." As their vessel passed through the concealed entrance, the true scale of humanity's secret became apparent. The asteroid had been hollowed out to create an enormous docking bay, easily large enough to house dozens of capital ships. And there, arranged in perfect formation, waited the Phoenix fleet, 30 warships of various classes, from nimble frigates to massive dreadnoughts, all bearing the insignia of Earth's former Space Force. But it was the activity around the ships that truly stunned the new arrivals. Hundreds of personnel in uniforms moved purposefully across loading platforms and maintenance gantries. Automated drones ferried supplies and equipment between vessels. Lights blazed from windows and viewports, illuminating the cavernous space with a warm, human glow. "They're active," Zane said in disbelief as their ship was guided to a docking port. "The fleet is crewed and ready." "Not just crewed," Iona replied, reading the incoming data with growing amazement. "According to these reports, They've been training and preparing for 15 years. 3 generations of personnel have lived and worked here in complete secrecy, maintaining the fleet and upgrading its systems with technology reverse-engineered from Coalition debris. As they disembarked, they were greeted by a tall, distinguished man with silver-streaked dark hair and the uniform of a fleet admiral. His weathered face broke into a warm smile as he recognized Iona. "Dr. Reyes, when we received your quantum key, I had hoped you might be among those who answered the call." Iona embraced him briefly. "Admiral Chen, I thought you died during the final assault on Earth." "A necessary deception," the Admiral explained, before turning his attention to Lex and Ross. "And you must be Captain Cruz and Captain Ross. Your reputations precede you." Lex stepped forward, offering a respectful salute. "Admiral, I must admit, I never truly believed the Phoenix Project was real until now." Admiral Chen returned the salute with precision that spoke of years of maintained discipline. "It was humanity's best-kept secret, and our last hope. When the war turned against us, the Security Council authorized the creation of this facility and the construction of a reserve fleet that would remain hidden, regardless of the outcome. We've been waiting for the right moment to reveal ourselves." "And you believe that moment is now?" Ross asked, still taking in the incredible sight of the hidden fleet. "The Coalition is fracturing," Chen confirmed, gesturing for them to follow him toward a nearby command center. Their united front was always an alliance of convenience, held together by mutual interests. Now, those interests are diverging. The Arcturnian hegemony seeks to expand its territory, challenging the Sirius Combine's leadership. The Proxima Collective remains neutral, but is secretly arming both sides. And the Rigelian Concord has withdrawn from active participation entirely, creating a power vacuum that will inevitably lead to conflict, Lex surmised. "Precisely." Chen nodded. "And when that conflict erupts, humanity will be caught in the crossfire, unless we have the means to defend ourselves and negotiate from a position of strength." They entered the command center, a vast chamber with holographic displays showing real-time data from across human space and beyond. Officers and technicians worked at various stations, monitoring everything from Coalition fleet movements to communications between alien worlds. "Your arrival has accelerated our timeline," Chen continued, bringing up a tactical display that showed the positions of Coalition forces near human territory. "We had planned to remain hidden for another 6 months, completing the final upgrades to our propulsion and weapon systems. But now that we've revealed our position by accepting your transmission, we must act quickly. The Coalition has already increased patrols near Earth and the major colonies," Iona noted, studying the display. "They suspect something, even if they don't know exactly what." "Then we strike before they can prepare," Lex suggested, military strategy already forming in her mind. "Hit their key positions simultaneously, demonstrate our strength, and force them to the negotiating table." Chen exchanged glances with his senior officers before responding. "An aggressive approach carries significant risks. Captain Cruz, the Coalition still outnumbers us considerably. But they're divided," Ross pointed out. "If we target the right pressure points, command centers, communication hubs, strategic outposts, we could create enough confusion to prevent a unified response." "And what about Earth?" Zane asked, speaking up for the first time since their arrival. "The Coalition maintains orbital platforms with weapons aimed directly at our major cities. If we attack, what's to stop them from destroying our homeworld in retaliation?" A heavy silence fell over the command center as everyone considered this grim possibility. It was the Coalition's ultimate insurance policy, the threat that had kept humanity compliant for 15 years. "We have a solution for that as well," Chen finally said, bringing up a new display that showed detailed schematics of the Coalition's orbital platforms. For the past decade, we've been infiltrating their security systems through quantum-entangled processors placed by our agents. We can temporarily disable their weapons long enough to neutralize the platforms. That's a narrow window, Lex observed, studying the plan. If anything goes wrong, which is why we need the best tacticians and commanders leading this operation, Chen replied, looking directly at her. Captain Alexandria Cruz, in recognition of your experience and the role you've played in activating Protocol Lazarus, I am offering you command of the UES Vindicator, our newest dreadnought. Lex stared at him in shock. The offer of a ship command, especially a capital ship, was far beyond what she had expected when she followed the Lazarus signal. Admiral, I'm honored, but I've been out of active service for 15 years. Surely there are more qualified officers here who have been training with these ships all along. There are capable officers, yes, Chen acknowledged, but none with your combination of combat experience, tactical insight, and personal stake in humanity's freedom. You've lived under Coalition rule. You understand what we're fighting against in a way that those who've been sheltered here cannot. He turned to Ross next. The same applies to you. Captain Ross, I'm offering you command of the UES Defiant, our most advanced stealth frigate. Your experience with covert operations will be invaluable for the precision strikes we'll need to execute. Ross straightened, his earlier skepticism giving way to a renewed sense of purpose. I accept, Admiral. All eyes turned to Lex, waiting for her decision. She looked around at the command center, at the fleet displayed on the tactical screens, at the faces of men and women who had dedicated their lives to preserving humanity's chance at true independence. This was everything she had dreamed of during her years of forced retirement. A chance to reclaim her purpose, to fight back against the oppression that had stifled human potential for so long. I accept as well, she said firmly. When do we begin? Chen's expression was grim but determined. Immediately. Coalition forces will have detected the energy surge from our station's reveal. We have perhaps 72 hours before they pinpoint our location and send a battle group to investigate. We need to be ready to launch our first strikes before then. As the command center erupted into focused activity, Lex caught a glimpse of Zane standing slightly apart from the others, his expression troubled as he watched the preparations for war unfold. There was something in his eyes, doubt, perhaps, or fear, that gave her pause. But before she could approach him, Admiral Chen was leading her toward the hangar, where her new command awaited, and the moment passed. Little did she know that this brief observation would prove critically important in the days to come, for Zane Mitchell harbored secrets that could either save humanity's revolution or doom it before it began. The UES Vindicator was unlike any ship Lex had commanded before. At nearly 2 kilometers in length, the dreadnought represented the pinnacle of human military engineering, enhanced by 15 years of secret development and reverse-engineered Coalition technology. Its sleek, angular design concealed weapon systems capable of engaging multiple targets simultaneously, while its reinforced hull could withstand bombardment that would have vaporized the ships Lex had known during the war. Standing on the bridge for the first time, surrounded by a crew that regarded her with a mixture of respect and curiosity, Lex felt the weight of responsibility settle firmly on her shoulders. This wasn't just a ship. It was humanity's future. All systems report ready. Captain, announced her newly assigned first officer. Commander Talia Chen, the Admiral's daughter, and a brilliant tactical officer in her own right. Engineering confirms the quantum drive is operating at optimal efficiency. Very good. Commander, Lex replied, settling into the captain's chair that seemed to mold perfectly to her form. And the crew? Eager to begin, ma'am. Most have trained their entire lives for this moment. Lex nodded, studying the holographic display that showed the other ships of their battle group forming up around the Vindicator. Ross's Defiant was already in position, its stealth systems giving it a ghostly, translucent appearance on the tactical screen. "Open a channel to the fleet," she ordered, straightening in her chair as the communications officer complied. "Channel open, Captain. You're addressing all 30 vessels." Lex took a moment to gather her thoughts. These would be her first words as a fleet commander, words that would set the tone for humanity's most important military operation since the surrender. "This is Captain Alexandria Cruz of the UES Vindicator to all ships of the Phoenix Fleet. Today, we embark on a mission 15 years in the making. Our objective is not conquest or revenge, but the restoration of humanity's right to determine its own future among the stars. Each of you represents the finest tradition of human courage and perseverance. Some of you were born in this hidden station, never having set foot on Earth or any colony. Others, like myself, have lived under coalition rule, watching our species' potential suppressed by those who fear what we might become." She paused, noting how the bridge crew had turned to listen, their faces reflecting the same determination she felt. The next 72 hours will determine whether humanity reclaims its independence or faces even harsher subjugation. We cannot afford to fail, but neither can we afford to become what we fight against. Our targets are military in nature. Command centers, weapons platforms, strategic outposts. We will minimize civilian casualties on all sides, demonstrating that humans can wield power responsibly. Remember, our goal is not to destroy the coalition, but to force it to recognize us as equals, worthy of respect and the right to self-governance. She leaned forward, her voice taking on a harder edge. "That said, make no mistake about our resolve. Any coalition vessel that threatens human lives or territory will be met with the full force of our capabilities. We have lived in the shadows long enough. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity truly is." Cruz out. As the channel closed, Talia approached the captain's chair, her expression somber. Stirring words. "Captain." The crew needed to hear them. "Let's hope I can live up to them," Lex replied quietly. "What's our status?" "Admiral Chen has transmitted the final operation plan. The fleet will divide into 3 task forces. Alpha, led by the Vindicator, will target the Coalition's primary command center in the Sirius system. Beta, under Captain Ross, will conduct simultaneous strikes against surveillance outposts along human space borders. Gamma will remain here to defend the station and provide reinforcement as needed." Lex studied the mission parameters on her personal display, noting the precision timing required for the plan to succeed. The Sirius system is heavily defended. We'll be significantly outnumbered. Yes, but according to intelligence, most of their capital ships have been redeployed to the Arcturnian border due to rising tensions. We'll be facing primarily patrol vessels and defensive platforms. And the orbital weapons aimed at Earth? Operation Blackout will commence 30 minutes before our attack, Talia explained, bringing up a separate tactical display. Our sleeper agents will activate the quantum-entangled processors, temporarily severing the platform's connections to their command systems. Lex nodded, though a sense of unease lingered. The plan was sound in theory, but it relied on too many variables aligning perfectly. Still, they had no choice but to proceed. "Signal the fleet to begin pre-jump procedures," she ordered. "We launch in 2 hours." As the bridge erupted into coordinated activity, Lex's thoughts turned to Ross and his mission. The success of the entire operation hinged on both their task forces achieving their objectives simultaneously, creating enough chaos to prevent the Coalition from mounting an effective counterattack. She only hoped that the years of planning and preparation would be enough to overcome the vast technological and numerical advantage the Coalition still held, and that humanity's long-dormant military spirit would prove as formidable as it had been during the war. In the secure communications center of Fleet Station Omega, Zane Mitchell moved with practiced efficiency, his fingers dancing across control panels as he monitored the encrypted channels used by the Phoenix fleet. As Dr. Reyes's assistant and a trusted member of the command staff, he had been granted access to sensitive systems that few others could reach, which made what he was about to do all the more damning. Checking to ensure he was alone, Zane activated a hidden subroutine in the communication array, one he had secretly installed weeks earlier, after first learning of the Lazarus protocol from Dr. Reyes. The program created a quantum tunnel through subspace, bypassing the normal detection systems that would flag unauthorized transmissions. "This is Adjutant," he spoke softly into a specialized receiver. "Authentication code Epsilon 973 Omega." For a moment, there was only static. Then, a familiar voice responded, the cool, measured tones of High Overseer Vaxaloran. "Adjutant, your sudden silence concerned us. Report." Zane swallowed hard, steeling himself against the guilt threatening to overwhelm his resolve. The rumors were true. Project Phoenix exists, a fleet of 30 warships hidden in the asteroid field at the coordinates I transmitted earlier. They're preparing to launch an attack against Coalition command centers within the next 2 hours. A pause, then, numbers? Capabilities? 5 dreadnoughts, 10 cruisers, 15 support vessels. Their technology is advanced. They've been reverse engineering Coalition systems for 15 years. Some of their weapons and defenses may even exceed current Coalition standards. Impossible. Vaxaloran dismissed. Human ingenuity is remarkable, but they lack the fundamental understanding of quantum principles necessary for truly advanced weaponry. "Don't underestimate them," Zane warned, risking the Overseer's displeasure. "I've seen the test results. Their quantum torpedoes can collapse shield harmonics with a single hit. Their stealth systems are undetectable by standard sensors, and they've developed a countermeasure for the orbital platforms targeting Earth." This last revelation was met with alarming silence before Vaxaloran spoke again, his voice tighter than before. "Explain." "Quantum-entangled processors inserted into the platform's control systems. They can sever the connection to Coalition command long enough to neutralize the weapons." "How long have we been compromised?" "Years," Zane admitted. "It was a long-term operation, conducted by agents embedded within maintenance crews." The sound of approaching footsteps in the corridor outside made Zane tense. He quickly checked the security feed and saw Dr. Reyes heading toward the communications center. "I must go. Their primary target is the Sirius Command Center. A secondary force led by Captain Ross will attack the border surveillance network. They launch in approximately 115 minutes. "You've done well, Adjutant," Vaxaloran replied, his tone suggesting he understood the urgency. "Continue monitoring and report any changes to the plan. The Coalition will be prepared." The connection terminated just as the door slid open, revealing Dr. Reyes. Her sharp eyes immediately noted Zane's slightly flustered state. "Is everything all right? You seem tense." Zane forced a smile, gesturing to the communication readouts. "Just double-checking the encryption protocols for the fleet. We can't risk any leaks." Iona studied him for a moment longer before nodding. "Good thinking. Admiral Chen wants us in the Strategic Operations Center. The first phase of the mission is about to begin." As they walked together through the bustling corridors of the station, Zane fought to maintain his composure. The weight of his betrayal pressed down on him with each step, making it difficult to breathe normally. "You never told me why you agreed to help activate the Lazarus protocol," Iona remarked suddenly. You seemed hesitant at first, almost opposed to the idea. Zane chose his words carefully. I was concerned about the consequences. The Coalition's retribution could be severe if we fail. And now? Now, I believe in what we're doing. He lied smoothly. Humanity deserves its freedom. Iona smiled, patting his arm affectionately. I'm glad to hear it. Your expertise has been invaluable to the operation. Captain Cruz specifically mentioned how impressed she was with your knowledge of Coalition systems. The casual mention of Lex sent a jolt of guilt through Zane's chest. The captain had shown him nothing but respect and trust since their first meeting. Trust he was now betraying in the most fundamental way possible. But he had made his choice long ago, when Coalition agents had approached him with evidence of his father's collaboration during the war. The choice between his own freedom and humanity's had been painful, but clear. Individual sacrifice for collective survival. Wasn't that what Captain Cruz herself had spoken of in her address to the fleet? As they entered the Strategic Operations Center, where Admiral Chen and his staff were coordinating the imminent attack, Zane pushed these thoughts aside. He had a role to play. And for now, that role required him to appear fully committed to humanity's cause, even as he worked to ensure its failure. For the quantum jump into the Sirius system was unlike anything Lex had experienced in her previous military career. The advanced drive systems of the Vindicator allowed for a precision that would have been impossible with older human technology, depositing the Dreadnought and its escort vessels exactly where planned, in the shadow of Sirius B, hidden from the immediate detection of Coalition sensors. Jump complete, Commander Talia reported, her voice steady despite the tension filling the bridge. All ships present and accounted for. Stealth systems engaged. Lex nodded, studying the tactical display that showed the Coalition's massive command center orbiting Sirius A several light minutes away. The structure was a marvel of alien engineering, a sprawling complex of interconnected modules and docking bays that served as the administrative heart of Coalition control over this sector of space. Status of Operation Blackout? She asked, knowing that everything hinged on neutralizing the threat to Earth before they revealed their presence. Countdown at T-minus 10 minutes. The communications officer replied. Sleeper agents report all systems in position. Lex rose from her chair, moving to the holographic display at the center of the bridge. The detailed simulation showed Coalition patrol patterns, defensive positions, and potential approaches to the command center. We'll have approximately 20 minutes from the moment blackout begins until Coalition forces realize what's happening and attempt to restore control of the Earth platforms. She reminded her command staff. Within that window, we need to disable the command center's defensive systems and communication arrays, preventing them from coordinating a response. The Arcturnian border fleet has been alerted to unusual activity in this sector, Talia noted, concern evident in her voice. They're dispatching scout vessels to investigate. Expected, Lex replied calmly. Part of Captain Ross's mission is to create sufficient distraction along the border to delay any reinforcements. We focus on our objective. As the minutes ticked down, Lex felt a strange calm settle over her, the clarity that came with absolute commitment to a course of action. After 15 years of forced inactivity, of watching her species slowly lose its identity under Coalition guidance, she was finally doing what she had been trained for, leading a fleet into battle, fighting for humanity's future. Blackout commencing, announced the communications officer suddenly. Quantum processors activated. Earth orbital platforms report. Success. Weapon systems offline. Control networks severed. Signal the fleet, Lex ordered, returning to her command chair. All vessels, battle stations, disengage stealth systems, and proceed to designated coordinates at maximum combat speed. The Vindicator surged forward, its massive engines propelling it toward the unsuspecting command center, with its escort vessels forming a protective screen around it. For several crucial minutes, there was no response from Coalition forces, no indication that they had detected the approaching human fleet. Then, alarms blared across the bridge as sensors detected energy spikes from the command center's defensive batteries. "They've spotted us," Talia reported grimly. "Defensive systems powering up. Incoming communication on all frequencies." "Ignore it," Lex commanded. "They're trying to delay us while they organize a response. Weapons. Target their primary communication array and fire when ready." The Vindicator shuddered slightly as its main battery discharged, a series of quantum torpedoes that streaked across space toward the massive antenna complex extending from the command center. The explosions were silent in the vacuum, but the effect was devastating. The array shattered into thousands of fragments, effectively cutting off the command center's ability to coordinate with Coalition forces throughout the system. "Direct hit. Communications disabled," the weapons officer announced, unable to keep a note of triumph from his voice. "Secondary targets locked." "Incoming!" Talia shouted, as the tactical display lit up with dozens of energy signatures launching from the command center's defensive platforms. "Coalition fighters and automated defense drones. Launch our interceptors," Lex ordered calmly. "Cruisers, intrepid and dauntless, move to flanking positions and target those platforms. All other vessels maintain formation and continue approach." The space around the Vindicator erupted into a chaotic ballet of energy weapons and explosions as human and Coalition forces engaged. The Phoenix fleet's advanced technology proved its worth immediately. Coalition weapons seemed to struggle to penetrate their shields, while human quantum torpedoes tore through alien defenses with frightening efficiency. "Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from Fleet Station Omega," the communications officer reported suddenly. "Admiral Chen reports that Operation Blackout has been compromised. Coalition forces are attempting to reactivate the Earth platforms ahead of schedule." Lex's blood ran cold. "How? The quantum processors should have been undetectable." "Unknown, ma'am, but he believes there may be a leak in our security." A traitor. The possibility had always existed. But Lex had hoped, naively, perhaps, that the shared goal of human freedom would unite everyone involved in the operation. "How much time do we have before the platforms come back online?" she demanded. "Estimates suggest less than 15 minutes. Our agents are working to extend the disruption. But not enough time to complete our mission and return to defend Earth," Talia concluded, her expression grim. Lex made a split-second decision. "Contact Captain Ross. Inform him of the situation and direct him to divert half his force to Earth immediately. We'll continue here as planned." "But Captain, if the platforms reactivate while we're still engaged here, then millions will die." "Yes." Lex cut her off, the weight of command heavier than ever. "Which is why we must succeed quickly and totally. Target the command center's central reactor. All weapons. Maximum yield." The order sent a ripple of shock through the bridge crew. A direct attack on the reactor would not just disable the command center, but destroy it completely, along with everyone aboard, military and civilian alike. "Captain," Talia said quietly, "there are over 20,000 beings on that station, including administrative personnel and—" "I'm aware of the numbers, Commander," Lex replied, her voice tight with suppressed emotion. "But if those platforms reactivate, and we haven't secured a strong enough position to force negotiations, the Coalition will make an example of Earth. Billions will die instead of thousands. Make the call." After a moment's hesitation, Talia nodded and relayed the order. The Vindicator's weapon systems reconfigured, all power diverting to its main cannon, a spinal-mounted particle accelerator that could punch through virtually any known defense. As the weapon charged, Lex opened a channel to the Coalition Command Center, her expression resolute as the alien face of a serious commander appeared on screen. "This is Captain Alexandria Cruz of the United Earthship Vindicator. Your command center has been targeted for destruction. You have 5 minutes to evacuate all non-essential personnel." The alien's multifaceted eyes widened in what might have been surprise or fear. "Human vessels were destroyed in the war. This deception will not—" "This is no deception," Lex interrupted. "Humanity has maintained a hidden fleet for 15 years, waiting for this moment. We do not wish unnecessary bloodshed, but we will no longer accept subjugation. Begin evacuation immediately." She closed the channel before the commander could respond, turning her attention back to the tactical display. Coalition evacuation pods were already launching from the command center, hundreds of them, streaming away from the doomed station. "They're taking us seriously," Talia observed. "As they should," Lex replied grimly. "Status of our fleet? 2 frigates damaged but operational. All other vessels report minimal impact. Coalition defensive capabilities appear significantly less advanced than our intelligence suggested. Or they've grown complacent during the years of peace," Lex suggested. "Weapon charge?" 90% and rising. Optimal firing position in 2 minutes. The bridge fell silent as the Vindicator continued its approach, pushing through the diminishing defensive fire as Coalition vessels either retreated or were disabled by the human fleet. The enormity of what they were about to do, destroying the Coalition's primary command center in this sector, weighed heavily on everyone present. "Captain," the communications officer called out suddenly. "Incoming transmission from Earth. Emergency channel." Lex tensed. "Put it through." The viewscreen flickered to show a harried-looking Admiral Chen, his face grim. "Captain Cruz, abort your attack immediately. I repeat, abort attack. Our operation has been compromised at the highest level." "Explain," Lex demanded, signaling Talia to pause the weapon charging sequence. "The Coalition knew we were coming. They've launched a massive counteroffensive against Fleet Station Omega. And worse, they've activated a backup system for the Earth platforms. Captain Ross's forces are engaging, but they're outnumbered." "How did they know?" Lex asked, though a suspicion was already forming in her mind. Chen's expression darkened. "We've identified the source of the leak. It's Zane Mitchell. He's been working for the Coalition since before the Lazarus Protocol was activated." The revelation hit Lex like a physical blow. Zane, the brilliant young engineer who had seemed so dedicated to their cause, who had worked closely with Dr. Reyes and had access to every aspect of their operation. Has he been apprehended? "No," Chen admitted. "He disabled our internal security systems and escaped in a shuttle shortly before the Coalition attack began. Dr. Reyes is— she's dead. Captain. Mitchell killed her when she discovered his betrayal. Iona Reyes, the brilliant scientist who had dedicated her life to preserving human knowledge and independence, murdered by the assistant she had trusted." The news sparked a cold fury in Lex's chest. "What are your orders, Admiral?" Chen hesitated, and in that moment, Lex saw the weight of command crushing down on him. The situation has changed. With our headquarters under attack and Earth still vulnerable, continuing the offensive would risk everything. I'm ordering a general retreat. All Phoenix vessels are to return to the designated rally point in Sector 23. With respect, Admiral, retreating now would squander our only advantage— surprise. The Coalition is reeling from our attack. If we pull back, they'll strengthen their defenses, hunt down our remaining assets, and punish humanity even more severely for our rebellion. I understand your concerns, Captain, but my decision is final. The preservation of our fleet takes priority. Without it, humanity has to hope at all. As the transmission ended, Lex remained motionless in her command chair, weighing her options. Chen's order was clear, but her tactical instincts screamed that withdrawal now would be disastrous. The Coalition Command Center before them represented their best chance to force negotiations, to secure humanity's future before the full might of alien forces could be brought to bear. "Your orders, Captain," Talia asked quietly, the rest of the bridge crew watching expectantly. Lex made her decision. Disregard the retreat order, resume weapon charging, and continue the attack as planned. Shock rippled through the bridge. "Captain," Talia objected, "that's a direct violation of Admiral Chen's command." "A command based on incomplete information," Lex countered. "The Admiral is focused on preserving the fleet, but our mission was always about forcing the Coalition to recognize humanity as equals. This command center is the key to that goal. If we destroy it, we demonstrate that humans can strike at the heart of Coalition power, something they've never considered possible. That gives us leverage, regardless of what happens at Fleet Station Omega." She stood, addressing the entire bridge crew. "I take full responsibility for this decision. Any officer who wishes to object may do so officially in the ship's log. But I believe this is our one chance to secure humanity's future, and I intend to take it." After a moment of tense silence, Talia nodded and turned to the weapons console. "Resume charging sequence. Target lock on command center reactor maintained." As the Vindicator's main cannon reached full power, Lex reopened the channel to the Coalition station. "Coalition Command, this is your final warning. Our weapon is locked on your central reactor. Surrender the station and acknowledge humanity's right to independence, or we will fire." The response came not from the station commander, but from a new face, the gray-skinned visage of High Overseer Vaxa Loren himself, his large eyes reflecting cold fury. "Captain Cruz, I should have expected such recklessness from a human. Do you truly believe destroying this station will achieve anything but the annihilation of your species? Even now, our forces are reclaiming control of the platforms orbiting Earth. One word from me, and your homeworld burns." "You're bluffing," Lex replied, though uncertainty flickered through her. "Our forces at Earth would have reported if the platforms were back online. Your forces at Earth are being systematically destroyed," Vaxa Loren countered. "Just as your hidden base is being overrun as we speak. Your rebellion has failed. Human, surrender now, and perhaps some small portion of your species will be permitted to survive." Lex glanced at her communications officer, who shook his head slightly. They had no way to verify the Overseer's claims, with the quantum communication network disrupted. "Even if what you say is true," Lex replied steadily, "destroying this command center will demonstrate that humans can no longer be safely oppressed. We may lose this battle, Overseer, but the Coalition will know that keeping humanity under its thumb carries too high a cost." Vax Loren's expression shifted subtly. Was that respect in those alien eyes? "You would sacrifice your homeworld to make a point." "Captain? I would sacrifice anything to ensure humanity's freedom," Lex answered, the weight of billions of lives pressing down on her conscience. "But I don't believe you control those platforms yet. Our agents embedded in your systems are too deeply entrenched." For a long moment, neither spoke, engaged in a silent battle of wills across the void of space. Then, surprisingly, Vaxa Loren inclined his head slightly. "Perhaps we have underestimated your species. Captain Cruz, I propose a temporary cessation of hostilities on both sides. My forces will stand down from Earth's orbital platforms, and you will power down your weapons targeting this station. Then, we will talk." Hope flared in Lex's chest, but she kept her expression neutral. Talk about what? Overseer? The future of human coalition relations. It seems the current arrangement is unsustainable. Lex considered the offer, weighing the risks against the potential reward. This could be a trick, a delay tactic to allow coalition reinforcements to arrive, but it could also be the opening they had fought for, a chance to negotiate as equals rather than subjugated dependents. Very well, she decided. A 12-hour ceasefire. During that time, all coalition forces will withdraw to beyond Luna's orbit, and all Phoenix Fleet vessels will maintain their current positions without further offensive action. Acceptable, Vaxaloran agreed, surprising her again. I will send representatives to your vessel to begin discussions. No, Lex countered. Neutral ground. The human colony on Mars. Equal delegations. Maximum of 5 representatives each. After a brief hesitation, the overseer nodded. The terms are agreeable. 12 hours. Captain Cruz, do not waste them. As the transmission ended, the bridge erupted into a mixture of relieved sighs and cautious murmurs. Talia approached Lex, her expression a complex blend of admiration and concern. Do you believe him, Captain? About standing down from the platforms? I believe he's pragmatic, Lex replied thoughtfully. The coalition is already facing internal fractures. A prolonged conflict with humans, especially humans with advanced military technology, would weaken their position further. He's cutting his losses. And Admiral Chen's retreat order? Lex's expression hardened. We'll address that once we've secured Earth's safety. For now, maintain battle readiness and prepare a delegation for the Mars negotiations. I want our strongest position possible when we face the coalition across that table. As the bridge crew carried out her orders, Lex turned her gaze to the tactical display, where coalition evacuation vessels continued to stream from the command center, while Phoenix Fleet ships held their positions in a tense standoff. They had achieved what had seemed impossible just days ago, forcing the mighty coalition to acknowledge humanity as a power worth negotiating with. But the cost had been high. Dr. Reyes dead. Fleet Station Omega under attack, and the specter of betrayal hanging over everything they had accomplished. And somewhere out there, Zane Mitchell, the traitor who had nearly doomed humanity's bid for freedom, remained at large. That, Lex promised herself, was a debt that would be settled before this conflict was truly over. The Martian colony's central administrative dome had been hastily converted into a neutral meeting ground, with equal sections designated for human and coalition representatives. The transparent ceiling offered a view of the rusty Martian landscape stretching to the horizon, a stark reminder of humanity's determination to thrive even in the most inhospitable environments. Lex stood with her chosen delegation, Commander Talia, 2 senior officers from the Vindicator, and a representative from the Mars colonial government, who had eagerly joined their cause upon learning of the Phoenix Fleet's existence. Across the circular table, High Overseer Vaxaloran and 4 other coalition officials, representing the major species of the Alliance, watched with expressions ranging from curiosity to barely concealed hostility. Let us begin, Vaxaloran stated, his resonant voice filling the chamber. The events of the past 72 hours have demonstrated that the current arrangement between humanity and the coalition is no longer sustainable. On that much, we agree, Lex replied coolly. 15 years of suppression and surveillance have only strengthened humanity's resolve to reclaim its independence. Independence. One of the coalition representatives, an Arcturnian with gleaming scales, repeated with obvious distaste. Your species was barely capable of interstellar travel when we encountered you. Without coalition guidance, you would still be confined to your solar system. Without Coalition interference, we would have developed our own path to the stars, Lex countered. Different, perhaps, from yours, but authentic to human potential and values. Vax Loren raised a hand, silencing his colleague before the exchange could escalate further. What's done is done. We are here to discuss the future, not relitigate the past. Captain Cruz, what exactly does humanity seek from these negotiations? Lex had prepared carefully for this question, knowing it would define the entire discussion. 3 fundamental rights. First, the removal of all Coalition monitoring and guidance personnel from Earth and human colonies. Second, recognition of human sovereignty over our current territories, with the right to expand to unclaimed systems without Coalition permission. Third, representation in the Coalition Council as equal partners, not subjects. A murmur ran through the alien delegation at these demands, but Vax Loren's expression remained unreadable. And in exchange, what does humanity offer the Coalition for these concessions? Alliance, rather than subjugation, Lex stated firmly. Human ingenuity, resourcefulness, and perspective added to the Coalition's collective knowledge, and a promise not to use our military capabilities against Coalition interests, provided our sovereignty is respected. Military capabilities that were developed in direct violation of the surrender terms, the Arcturnian pointed out sharply. Terms imposed without negotiation or consent, Talia interjected. A treaty signed under duress has limited moral authority. Vax Loren studied Lex for a long moment before responding. Your Phoenix fleet is impressive, Captain Cruz, but surely you realize it represents only a fraction of the Coalition's combined military strength. If we chose to, we could still crush this rebellion and impose even stricter controls on human development. At what cost? Overseer, Lex challenged. The Coalition already faces internal division. The Arcturnian hegemony challenges serious leadership. The Proxima Collective grows restless. Adding a prolonged conflict with humans, who have proven we can strike at your command centers despite your technological advantages, would further strain those fractures, perhaps to breaking point. The Overseer's eyes narrowed slightly. She had struck a nerve. You seem well informed about Coalition politics. We've had 15 years to study our oppressors, Lex replied with a thin smile, just as you've studied us. A tense silence fell over the chamber as the 2 leaders measured each other. Finally, Vax Loren leaned back in his seat. I propose a compromise. The Coalition will withdraw direct oversight from Earth and established human colonies. Humanity will be granted autonomy over internal affairs and limited expansion rights to uninhabited systems within 20 light-years of Sol. In exchange, the Phoenix fleet will be registered with the Coalition Defense Authority and subject to mutual inspection protocols. And our seat on the Council? Lex pressed. Observer status initially, Vax Loren offered, with the possibility of full membership after a transitional period of 10 standard years, assuming peaceful relations are maintained. Lex exchanged glances with her delegation. The terms fell short of full independence, but represented a dramatic improvement over humanity's current status. More importantly, they created a foundation for further negotiation from a position of relative equality rather than subjugation. We would need additional guarantees, she stated. Specifically, the permanent deactivation of all weapons platforms targeting Earth and human colonies, and amnesty for all personnel involved in the Phoenix Project and the recent military action. Vax Loren's expression tightened. Including the traitor who murdered Dr. Iona Reyes, the one you call Zane Mitchell? The question caught Lex off guard. Mitchell worked for you. His actions were presumably under Coalition orders. He was an informant. Yes, the overseer acknowledged, but the elimination of Dr. Reyes was not authorized. Mitchell exceeded his instructions, perhaps out of personal animus or a misguided attempt to prove his loyalty. The Coalition does not condone the murder of scientists. Captain, even enemy ones. The revelation sent Lex's mind racing. If Mitchell had acted without authorization, he was now a fugitive from both sides, hunted by humans for betrayal and by the Coalition for exceeding his mandate. Very well, she decided. Amnesty for all except Mitchell. He answers to human justice for Dr. Reyes's murder. Acceptable, Vaxaloran agreed, before adding, "There is one additional matter. Admiral Chen." Lex tensed. "What about him?" "Our intelligence suggests he ordered a retreat that you disregarded. This raises questions about the chain of command within your fleet. Questions that concern us if we are to recognize it as a legitimate military force." Internal matters of military discipline are precisely the kind of issues that fall under the autonomy you just agreed to grant us. Lex replied smoothly. "But rest assured, Overseer, when I return to my fleet, the command structure will be clarified to everyone's satisfaction." The Overseer studied her for a moment longer, before inclining his head in acknowledgement. "Then I believe we have the framework for an agreement. Our legal experts will draft the formal treaty for review by both parties." As the meeting adjourned, Talia moved closer to Lex, speaking quietly. "Do you think they'll honor it? Once they've had time to regroup and strengthen their defenses?" "I think Vaxaloran is a pragmatist," Lex replied, watching the Overseer confer with his delegation. "He recognizes that the cost of continuing to suppress humanity now outweighs the benefits. Whether the rest of the Coalition agrees, that remains to be seen." "And Admiral Chen? The Overseer wasn't wrong about the chain of command issue." Lex's expression hardened. "Chen made the wrong call. His focus on preserving the fleet at all costs nearly cost us our only chance at meaningful negotiation. But he's still the architect of Project Phoenix, and that deserves respect." "Court-martial?" Talia asked bluntly. "No," Lex decided after a moment's consideration. "But a change in leadership structure will be necessary. The Phoenix fleet can't operate with divided command, not if we're to maintain the position we fought for." As they prepared to return to the Vindicator, Lex took a final look at the Martian landscape through the dome's transparent ceiling. This dusty, half-terraformed world represented humanity's first step beyond Earth, the beginning of a journey that had been interrupted, but not ended, by Coalition intervention. Now, that journey would continue. Not exactly as they had originally envisioned, perhaps, but on their own terms, with their destiny back in human hands where it belonged. And somewhere out there, Zane Mitchell, the traitor who had nearly destroyed everything they had fought for, was waiting. That, Lex promised herself, would be her first priority once the treaty was secured. Not for vengeance, but for justice, for Iona Reyes, for all those who had died maintaining the secret of Project Phoenix, and for the future of a humanity that would never again allow itself to be subjugated by those who feared its potential. The Battlefleet had struck from nowhere, just as the ancient phrase promised. No one saw us coming. And now that humanity had revealed its strength, the galaxy would never view them the same way again. The return to Fleet Station Omega was somber. The Coalition attack had been called off as part of the ceasefire, but not before causing significant damage to the outer docking facilities and defensive systems. Repair crews worked tirelessly as the Vindicator approached, the scars of battle still visible across the station's surface. Admiral Chen awaited Lex's arrival in the main conference room, his expression unreadable as she entered with Commander Talia at her side. The tension between them was palpable, the senior officer whose orders had been disregarded, and the captain whose insubordination had secured humanity's future. Captain Cruz, Chen acknowledged stiffly. I understand congratulations are in order. The Coalition has agreed to recognize human autonomy. Limited autonomy, Lex corrected, taking a seat across from him. With a path to full independence over time, more than we had yesterday, but less than we deserve. Chen nodded slowly. And the Phoenix Fleet? What is its status under this new arrangement? Recognized as a legitimate human defense force, subject to mutual inspection protocols. We maintain operational control, but agree not to target Coalition interests unless provoked. You achieved more than I thought possible, Chen admitted, some of the tension leaving his shoulders. When I ordered the retreat, I believed our position was untenable. The Coalition attack on this station had breached our outer defenses, and reports from Earth suggested the orbital platforms were being reactivated. Those reports were exaggerated, Lex replied. Likely part of Mitchell's disinformation campaign to force exactly the response you gave, a premature withdrawal that would have squandered our only advantage. At the mention of the traitor, Chen's expression darkened. Mitchell has much to answer for. Dr. Reyes was irreplaceable. Her brilliance and dedication kept Project Phoenix alive during our darkest hours. The Coalition claims her murder wasn't authorized, Talia noted. It seems Mitchell acted on his own initiative. Making him a target for both sides, Chen concluded. A dangerous position to be in. Lex leaned forward, addressing the issue that had hung between them since her return. Admiral, we need to discuss the chain of command. My disregard of your orders, while justified by the outcome, has created a precedent that could undermine fleet discipline moving forward. Chen studied her for a long moment before responding. You're suggesting a formal resolution to the matter? I am, for the sake of the fleet and our position in negotiations with the Coalition. To her surprise, Chen smiled faintly. I've already drafted my resignation. Captain Cruz, or should I say, Admiral Cruz. The Phoenix Fleet Project Council met while you were on Mars. They voted unanimously to promote you to Fleet Command. Lex stared at him in shock. Admiral, that's not what I... It's the right decision, Chen interrupted gently. You proved yourself in battle and in diplomacy. The fleet respects you, and the Coalition fears you. An ideal combination for the person who will lead humanity into this new era. And you, sir? Talia asked. I will serve as special envoy to the Coalition Council. Chen replied. My experience with Project Phoenix makes me uniquely qualified to represent human interests during the transition period. Lex absorbed this information, recognizing the wisdom in the arrangement. Chen's strategic vision had created and preserved the Phoenix Fleet, but her tactical acumen and willingness to take calculated risks had given it purpose. Together, they could secure humanity's future far more effectively than either could alone. I accept, she said finally, on one condition. Finding Zane Mitchell becomes our top priority, not just for justice, but for security. He knows too much about our capabilities and vulnerabilities. Agreed. Chen nodded grimly. I've already authorized a special task force led by Captain Ross to hunt him down. Mitchell's betrayal cut deep, but it also taught us a valuable lesson about trust and vigilance, one we cannot afford to forget as we move forward. As the meeting concluded and plans were made for the formal transition of command, Lex found herself drawn to the station's observation deck. Standing before the vast viewport, she gazed out at the assembled ships of the Phoenix Fleet, humanity's buried Battlefleet that had struck without warning and changed the course of interstellar politics in a single, decisive action. Commander Talia joined her silently, respecting her contemplation for several moments before speaking. "What happens now, Admiral?" Lex considered the question, watching as repair drones swarmed around a damaged cruiser, methodically restoring it to operational status. "Now we rebuild, strengthen our position, prepare for the day when the Coalition fully accepts us as equals, or for the day when they regret not doing so." "You don't trust the peace," Talia observed. "I trust that power respects power," Lex replied. "The Coalition subjugated us because they could. They negotiate with us now because they must. Our task is to ensure they never again see humanity as an easy target." "And beyond that, once our security is assured?" Lex smiled, gesturing toward the stars visible beyond the fleet. "Beyond that lies the future we always deserved. Exploration, discovery, development on our own terms, according to our own values. The journey outward that was interrupted 15 years ago can finally continue." As if in response to her words, the lights of the Phoenix fleet seemed to burn brighter against the darkness of space, a constellation of human determination and resilience that would never again be extinguished. Humanity had reclaimed its place among the stars, and this time they would not surrender it without a fight. No one had seen them coming, and now no one would ever forget they were here.